We're talking about cash flow versus appreciation. What the difference is, I'm going to show you two examples of what a cash flow play looks like and what a appreciation play looks like. Um, this is a common concept that I get from our investor clients that want to invest in short-term rentals. And I always ask the question is like, okay, are you a cash flow investor or an appreciation investor? And most people are like, oh, I'm both, right? Um, the the kind of beginner level investors are like, oh, I need both, right? That makes sense. Now, once we kind of dig into a couple follow-up questions with that, it's typically most people lean one way or the other. Let me stand up real quick. Appreciate you guys for jumping on Friday afternoon. If you have any follow-up questions, drop them in the comments, and then I'll answer them at the end. So, cash flow versus appreciation for people that are just jumping on. So as we kind of go through the inner discovery process of like, what do you care about with your investment? Um, Obviously, everybody's gonna be like, oh, I need both. I need cash flow to pay for itself now, and also I need the property to appreciate. Now, both are at play here, right? For all of our investors, there's so many factors, but appreciation on average, I don't know, 3 to 5%. So the asset goes up 3 to 5% every year. That's something that's you don't really feel that until you sell the property. So it's not something that's going to affect you today or even tomorrow. It's probably years down the road, even if you ever sell the property. Some of our investors are like, I'm buying this thing and holding this thing forever. I'm going to give it to my kids when I pass away. So appreciation is something at play, but I personally don't like to advise our clients to think about appreciation. Now, we've also had clients on the absolute opposite end of that, where all they cared about was appreciation. They were like, I don't care to make this thing cash flow. I just want to buy in, an up and coming neighborhood, up and coming market, and just, make my six figures when I sell this 2 years down the road. And they're like, it could negative cash flow. Don't really care. So that's on the absolute opposite end of the cash flow perspective. You got cash flow over here, appreciation over here. Once again, most people fall into one of these buckets or care more about one of those buckets. So, and then on the absolute flip side, the cash flow investor is somebody that doesn't give a crap about the future appreciation. They don't care about that. They need to make money right now. With the market, it is how it is. Cash flow it's very hard to find. It is a needle in a haystack. I'm telling our investor pool every day when we're sending out these properties and looking at underwriting deals, cash flow is hard to come by right now because most people do not have cash to just buy it cash offer. Some people do. We've helped clients do that. And that's easy. That's like, oh, yep, cash flow is easy there. Most people are putting, the minimum amount down, your 15 to 25, 30% properties and expecting the cash flow. So the problem with that aspect is money is very expensive right now. Interest rates are high. If you look at it, if you zoom out a little bit, interest rates are fairly low, if you look at like the past 50 years, but that's a conversation for another day. So cash flow when you take in debt and you have mortgage and like let's say HOA, that's just eating away at your cash flow. So debt is so expensive right now. If you're borrowing a ton, that eats away your cash flow. Now, I've had clients where we would like during the discovery, we would ask them like, okay, what do you want to put down? What are you qualified interest rate for? Is there any wiggle room here? Like we had a client this week that they were buying something in the like 750 range. It was 650. It was 650. And we started asking like, okay, is there any wiggle room here? What's your interest rate? Yada yada yada. They were like, honestly, like the goal is to pay for itself and then long-term appreciation. So they were like, as long as the asset pays for itself, obviously there's ups and downs with short-term rentals, but the property pays for itself. We're like, okay, great. Now, if we were to find something that checked all the boxes at say 750, would that work? They were like, yeah, we could go up to 750 from our original 650 purchase price target. The only difference is we would have to leverage more. We would have to leverage a little bit. At that 650 range, they were, I think they were planning to put down maybe like 50, 60%. So there's levers here. Every investor is different. Getting with a investor friendly agent and somebody who understands the market is absolutely crucial to understand what those levers are you need to pull. Like for example, that 650, if we're at 50% down, that that obviously helps cash flow because you don't have a debt eating away at the cash flow. But if you were to take that 650 and leverage 80% and essentially put down 20%, that's like a negative cash flow opportunity. So the same house, the buyer differs depending on what their goals are and like what the property entails. So there's so many different levers in down payment. If you're a self manager versus wanting to hire a manager, obviously we still help self managers purchase. We're helping one purchase right now that is not going to use us as management. I don't really care. That honestly makes the finding the property a lot easier. If you're a self manager and you're sitting on the sidelines, I would probably say we're finding 20 good properties for self managers because once again, the manager fee is a lot. Like we charge 20% to our clients to do everything. Now, I think in hindsight, for somebody that likes their time and not having to answer plumbing calls at 9 p.m., like yeah, 100% worth 20%. But the people that want to be involved, maybe for STR loophole tax benefits, or they just want a little more control, we can wipe away that 20%. And once again, that also adds to the cash flow. So I'm going to go through two examples here just to kind of, I like to have some context and looking at actual properties. Once again, these properties are in Charlotte, but hopefully this will kind of nail down the my example. If you have questions, drop them below. Got 4 or 5 people on right now. Thanks everybody for jumping on Friday. Let's get it. All right, I will share my screen real quick. Okay, let me make that a little bit bigger. Once again, if you guys are new here, every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're doing what I'm calling office hours, where I'm teaching some type of little bit more advanced topic. If you're just beginning, jump on our Wednesday calls at 6 p.m. The STR Q&A, where you can ask your Airbnb, your short-term rental questions there. I usually have loaded up 1 or 2 and then ask away there. So once again, Wednesday, 6 p.m. And then this is the Friday at 1 p.m. So cash flow versus appreciation. Oh, also, I want to mention this one last week that I did, ChatGPT for host. Go back and watch this replay. If you can't find it, I'll send you the link directly. But man, I think that was probably one of my better trainings yet. I riffed off like 8 different things that I'm using ChatGPT for. So cash flow versus appreciation here. Appreciation. So I think I defined it pretty well at the beginning. It is essentially the property value over time. Does it go up or does it go down? On average, I think it's like 3% across the US. Charlotte's outpaced that a little bit just because it's a booming market and people are moving here very, very fast. One of the fastest growing cities in the country every year, at least recently. And then cash flow. That's like everybody kind of looks at cash flow a little bit different. I view cash flow as like after every single expense. Some investors view cash flow as not including like mortgage. I like to include mortgage, HOAs, in homeowners insurance, like management. I like to include everything, and then that's like my net cash flow. Some people have like gross cash flow net. I just like take out all the expenses that are going to happen, add your capital expenditure that is bound, something is bound to break. It's just a matter of time. Like factor in a couple $100 a month, a couple thousand a year to get down to a net cash flow. So those are kind of the two plays here. I'm gonna do this one first, cash flow first, with this example, and then we'll kind of get into the appreciation. So if you have been following me on Instagram, if you have not been following me, I'm gonna drop my Instagram handle down below. If you haven't been following me, I just posted a video about this place. This place is, I think it's one of the best on the market. It's one of the better ones I've seen in the past couple months. Right now, it's a needle in a haystack finding some property that the purchase price is low enough and the revenue is high enough to where it cash flows. This one cash flows anywhere from, with management, I think we're around $1,400 a month, times that by 12, whatever that is per yearly. I don't really remember. And then if you're a self manager, that's where you're like, holy crap, printing money. This one is, I think, 2,800 a month. So if you, once again, like I mentioned earlier, if you remove the management, that adds 20% back to your net or your gross and net. So that one was like 2,800 bucks net after mortgage, after HOA, like all that. So one thing to know here is we're just looking at numbers on a piece of paper. Obviously, you would need to walk the property, look for foundation issues, mold issues, like roofing issues. Like there's a lot more to look at outside of like just looking at what we're doing on here on paper. So if you need help, I invite you reach out to me. We've got brokers in house that can help you do the entire process. We find the property, we'll help you purchase it, and obviously we'll manage it. So the three things will help you do everything there. But this one, I'm gonna kind of click through a little bit and kind of show you why I like this property. So one, Kerrville. This is a solid photo. It's a good looking house. Seems newer. 5 bed. This is huge. I like a 5 bed. I'm gonna kind of scroll through here pretty quickly. I think this was built in 2004, something like that. And we sent this to our internal investor pool Monday. So we've got a couple people that are going to see this that haven't, or maybe have already seen it this week. So it is still active. So we are not under contract yet. But so this is a cash flow play. This is strictly a cash flow play. Now, this property will appreciate over time. It is a solid investment, right at 500 grand, in a solid part of Charlotte. I think this is, where are we? University. Yeah, close to University. So right at 85, 45. So good location here. Good bones, 5 beds, love 5 beds. So this is a cash flow play because 500 grand, like right now, it's kind of a cheap 5 bedroom. Like, usually it's 100 grand per bed, give or take. But that's a pretty good cash flow. I think this thing would gross over, I think it was like 85 a year, something like that. Now, if you get creative and pimp this thing out with a game room in the garage, a hot tub, use some like appreciation for cash flow forcing elements here, this thing could really cash flow. So that's the cash flow perspective on this one. This solid investment. Go out and purchase this. Let me know if I can help further. Now, this one is the appreciation example. So appreciation is essentially like typically on average homes. So the way that I think about it is there's two like levels of appreciation. One is like, I bought this place in probably not the best area and like renovated it. So therefore they appreciate, like you bought it cheap, you force equity, and then you like that appreciation will go up. Or you bought a very expensive property in a very popular market, think South Park, Lake Norman, Heart of Plaza Midwood, downtown Matthews. Like you essentially overpaid for the property, not in a bad way, but that's the ratio, purchase price to revenue. So the purchase prices on that side are higher, so your revenue has to keep up. Now you're going to hit kind of a glass ceiling with the revenue. Like if you pay 800 grand for a property that only rents for 80 grand, and then this one right here is listed for 500 and that does also 80, obviously this is more of a cash flow play. But this one right here, so this is a lakefront property, listed at 1.5. Great looking spot, great flat lot on a solid part of the lake. You got covered multi-dock access. I think there's even power and water here, but great looking spot. Decently renovated. It's actually similar little style to here, but anyways, but this one, you throw in 1.5 purchase price, like your revenue has to be very, very high for this to cash flow. So this one is actually a negative cash flow property, but this is a slam dunk appreciation play because, I mean, as you know, they don't make any more lakefront properties. It is what you have is what you have. They can't I mean, I guess you could subdivide lots, but if there's 5,000 lake properties, there's probably going to be 5,000 and not much more down the road. So it's not they're building townhomes and things like that. So you're hedged against that. So this property, super, super more appreciation play. This will probably outpace your 3 to 5%, just on sheer fact that it's lakefront. Now, this one, as it sits now, will not cash flow, but you could get pretty darn close to cash flowing. So this outdoor piece right here, I mean, you would need to amenity this bad boy up. String lights, love string lights, hot tub here, or even thought about the hot tub here. That would be sick. But that's kind of the play here. And then one other aspect to get this to cash flow would be where's my game room? This 2-car garage right here. I think this is the back of it. So this I mean, you could turn that into actual square footage. I'm not sure if it's insulated, count as a square footage, like a bedroom. I would honestly want to get this to 4 bedrooms minimum, so we could rent it. Once again, I haven't checked HOA. Just do your due diligence. We'll help you do that if you want to. But pimp this game room out. This fire pit down here is really cool. String lights here. I mean, you could make this thing pretty sick. But still, you're fighting an uphill battle at 1.4, where you really need to pump the gross numbers up to get it anywhere near cash flow. So those are kind of the 2 examples of the cash flow play versus the appreciation play. Any questions on any of those? Happy to answer some follow-ups. Cool. All right. Thanks everybody for joining this week's office hours. For those still joining, would you guys do a in-person office hours? If I hosted people at either our office or maybe a coffee shop somewhere, where would people be interested in coming to a in-person event versus everything I do is pretty much work from home. We do every now and then we'll do a in-person event, but let me know if that's something people would be interested in. I like the in-person aspect. So, all right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it for watching. Hopefully this was helpful.